Hey, I'm Alex Radcliffe from Board Game Co, and today I'm reviewing Mindbug from NerdLab. Mindbug is a two-player game designed by Richard Garfield that has players facing off against each other with a shared deck of cards in which they're going to draw 10 cards and then go head-to-head utilizing their Mindbugs above all else. These Mindbugs over here, you're going to have two of them, and they are the crux of the game because they will allow you to take a creature that your opponent plays. You see in the game over here, you're going to have 10 cards. You're going to look at your deck over here. I'm just going to go ahead. You know what? Let's go and construct a full deck over here. You're going to have 10 cards over here, and then you're going to draw 5 of those cards. So players are going to go ahead, draw 5 cards, take a look at their hand of cards, and see what they want to do. Now, the general idea of the game is you're going to take one of 3 actions on your turn. You're either going to play a card, or you're going to attack with a creature, or you're going to take an action on a card. So if we go ahead and look at these cards over here, you can see the values. We have a 1, 3, 2, 6, and 2, and that's important because generally the highest value wins past the few keywords that are going to totally change all of that. So without overly thinking this through, I'm going to look at my cards over here. We have a snail thrower who's poisonous, that's helpful. We have a tiger squirrel who's sneaky. Ooh, that's fun, but I want to hold off on that because that can play to defeat an enemy creature. We have sneaky, the opponent, ooh, ferret bomber, this is great. So we're going to go ahead and play a ferret bomber right now. Over here, when we play this card, the opponent discards 2 cards, and it's sneaky, which means it can only be blocked by creatures with sneaky. So it's going to be very helpful, because ultimately, your only goal is to reduce your opponent's health from 3 down to 0. And so we go ahead and we play a Ferret Bomber. At the end of our turn, we go ahead and draw a new card, because you're always going to have 5 cards in your hand. My opponent's going to take a look at their hand of cards, and they're going to go also ahead and play a card, because unless there's something they can do otherwise, but there's no creatures in play, so they're going to go ahead and look at their hand over here, and they'll see what they want to do. Maybe they go ahead and they play a Giraffodile, who has play, draw your entire discard pile. That seems like better for a late game play. We have Urchin Hurler, Hunter, other allied creatures have +2 power. That could be useful because we could force this opponent to defend us, which can be useful. You know what? Let's go ahead and play a Turbo Bug over here. We're going to play a Turbo Bug. That's going to be a nice early game play. That's going to be when we attack, the opponent loses all life points except for 1, and then of course we'll draw a card. That's a very useful early game play because it forces our opponent to basically lose some health points. We're going to go ahead and take a look at the table, and right now we have our first real choice. Well, that's not true. We had a whole handful of cards to play as our real choice. But right now we can go ahead and use the Ferret Bomber to attack, and then our opponent can't block because even though they would otherwise win, a 4 versus a 2, they can't block because they're sneaky. That's going to be helpful to remove a life point from my opponent. The flip side of that is right now I know that they're going to attack, so let me see if I have anything I can do to go ahead and resolve that. I don't know if I do right now. I don't think I have anything that will be that helpful, so I think I'm going to go ahead and just attack right now. So we're going to go ahead and attack. We're going to tap over here. We're not actually tapping, and I think that term is patented by Magic the Gathering, which Richard Garfield also designed, so there is that as well. But we go ahead and tap. My opponent loses life by 2, and now we go ahead and use the Turbo Bug over here, and my opponent in their turn is also going to attack, which means we're going to go ahead and have to reduce my life points except 1, which is... honestly, it's pretty bad. I may have misplayed this a bit. So we're going to go ahead and reduce all my life points except for 1, but we're also going to block so that we don't die. So we're going to block with our Ferret Bomber, and then go ahead and block. The 4 is going to defeat the 2, and that goes to my discard pile. I may have misplaced things a little bit. Then I'm going to go ahead back to my turn over here and try to see what I can do, because I need to take out the Turbo Bug, because the plus side is he can't hurt me any more than he already has, but the downside is... he's still in play, and I want to get rid of him. So, we have a Ferret Bomber over here. We have another Ferret Bomber. It's not really that helpful, though. Let's go ahead and play through a, let's play a Goblin Werewolf. Sure. No, that's not going to help me. Let's play a Strange Barrel over here. We're going to play a Strange Barrel over here. And this is the part where you have to be careful as you play this game. Because whenever you play something in this game, your opponent can use a Mindbug. They can use a Mindbug and steal that creature from you. Which means in the game, you will very frequently have that one creature, that important play, that thing that will help turn the tides of battle. And it will, unless your opponent Mindbugs you. But that equal applies to them as well, so each player has 2 Mindbugs they can use across the course of the game to try to steal those large creatures from each other. And that's going to be the crux of the game and how it operates, because it's not just a back and forth. It's not just play a card, try to think through how you can react and adjust to your opponent's battlefield, but it also very much is about those Mindbugs. Forcing your opponents to play cards and try to tease out when they're playing the card that you will want to steal from them until you're out of Mindbugs, or alternatively until the game state is so dire that you have to play your Mindbug to steal anything because you desperately need it to survive. You're going to go back and forth playing this little puzzle until one of your players is down to 0 health, at which point you'll win the game. That is the basic version of Mindbug. There's also 2 expansions today, though. We also have 2 expansions over here. We have Mindbug Beyond and we have Mindbug Eternity, or I think it's a Beyond Evolution and Beyond Eternity are going to be the 2 additional gameplays, and to that end, Beyond Evolution is going to add, well, evolutions. We're going to have over here a deck of cards, which is first of all going to introduce just new cards to the game. So if you want more cards, we have those. But you also have all these over here. These are going to be a bunch of evolutions, and you're going to go ahead and be able to play a card. So this card, this Cloud Lady, evolves to one of these. So you can play this card, and as an action, you can defeat an enemy creature with power 4 or less and evolve to the Typhoon Princess, removing this from play and going ahead and adding the Typhoon Princess, a stronger version, who has another action that they can go ahead and evolve to Thunder Queen. All of these evolutions are going to be powerful cards that give you opportunity to go ahead and evolve them, assuming your opponent doesn't stop you. But as usual, there are mind bugs in play, which means no matter what you do in the game, your opponent can still steal those cards from you. And then we have over here, we have Evolution as well. So Beyond Evolution is going to add kind of, well, things from the Beyond Eternity. Beyond Eternity will add things hitting you from the discard pile. So in this game over here, you're going to be able to boost cards from the discard pile, adding strength. But you're also going to have cards that function from the discard pile. We have a Blessed Shield Bug, who in the discard pile, allied creatures have +1 power, and that's going to affect how you interact with the game state as far as what cards you're more willing to lose because they're going to go to the discard pile and help you out there. And that is basically the Mind Bug system, which brings us to the review, starting off with ease of play, which is, it's a fairly easy game to get up and running. You teach the game, it's basic drawing cards, playing cards. On your turn, you play a card, or you attack, or you go ahead and use an action. Past that, it comes down to the nuance of how the cards are going to interact with each other, but the pure rules in this game are incredibly simple. You have 3 life points, you're trying to be mindful of that as you take down your opponent down to 0. And games last, I'd say, generally in the half-hour range. It could be faster when you have things that just don't help you out as far as not being able to power through. You can have 50 minutes games if players are on top of their turns, but I'd say generally between that 15 to 30 minutes is going to be roughly how long a game lasts. As far as what I like, don't like, and can see others not liking, starting off with what I like, which is the charming art, the simple gameplay, the accessibility of the experience. Mind Bug lets you play this game quickly, easily, and just have a ton of variety between the base game and the expansions at play. And there's a lot of interplay between the cards, lots of ways to mitigate as far as how things operate. Sure, at first you see that, like, strong 8 creature who has a bunch of powerful abilities and they seem incredibly awesome, or you have those evolutions which evolve to some crazy creatures that have some crazy powers that just seem straight up broken. Your opponent discards their whole deck or hand or whatever. You have some crazy things going on in those cards, but there's a lot of ways to mitigate. There's a lot of basic abilities, from sneaky to poisonous to hunting, different things that will adjust how the game works, different abilities that might make it seem so that even though that strong card is strong, weak cards also are situationally strong and helpful, and they're important to the dynamic because they also have to tease out your opponent's mind bugs whenever you think it's the right time or place to do so. And that mind bug is the key, is the crux to this entire system. The entire way this game operates is there are cards that are stronger, better, worse, different, all that, but the mind bug equalizes the playing field by having yourself being able to react to your opponent's plays, being able to steal that important creature. And when you do steal a creature, they get another turn, so they're not like left completely defenseless. They can react to the fact that you stole from them, but nonetheless, you now have their creature, and you can possibly tease out not playing any of your stronger creatures, not giving them the opportunity to respond. And so there's very much a mind game here, a timing issue at play. It's a lot of it is about trying to figure out how your opponent's going to react, when they're going to react, trying to tease out their creature, and then play softballs that don't actually help them respond to you. A general tool in this game, and it says so in the rulebook, and it's a good piece of advice, is never play a creature that you can't react to it being stolen from you. And that's an important facet of the game, but the mind bug is the crux of the entire system, giving you a fun little puzzle as far as how you steal, how you tease things away from other players. As far as what I don't like in the game, ultimately, the cards are random. You're getting a random set of cards. You're not deck building here. You don't have a lot of agency. Sometimes you have decks of cards or hands of cards that coalesce nicely with each other, that play off each other, that give you a lot of tools to be able to respond to the situations at hand. And other times you don't. That's it. There's no more complicated version of saying it. Other times you just don't. Other times you get a hand of cards that is good or great or possibly, but not for the situation at hand. Something that won't help you react to the things that come out of play, or maybe they will, but they're buried into your deck of cards and not your hand of cards. Ultimately, your deck is random, what you draw is random, and there's not a ton of agency. Well, there's agency. There's ways to see the puzzle through it and to be able to know when and how to use your mind bug, but I'd say that for every decision you're making, there's just as much luck thrown into the mix that brought you there. And so that's going to be a big factor of this game. Just, it's kind of a hodgepodge, a potpourri of a ton of powers, cards, and abilities, and just enough gameplay to mixed in to be able to make it feel like a rewarding system. As far as I can see others not liking, you can often find yourself on the tail end of just watch yourself get stomped in this game. There are times where ultimately the way the cards come out, you just might have an experience where your opponent plays 2 or 3 cards, you can't respond, you didn't play your mind Mindbug fast enough, they looked soft enough, they looked weak enough, and now before you know it, you don't have an opportunity to respond. They're playing their Mindbug, stealing your one-time creatures. If you let yourself get too far, you can find yourself just getting stomped into the ground and having your opponent walk all over you, which is not necessarily as fun of an experience, especially if it's your first time playing. As far as final thoughts on Mindbug and the expansions and whatnot, I like the system. I enjoy Mindbug. It is a fun game to play. I've had fun with it. I've had fun playing with the expansions. I enjoy what Evolution brings. Eternity and Beyond Evolution and Beyond Eternity are both great. I find Evolution as more interesting. I really like the Evolution cards. They're a strong threat, but you have to get them in play. You have to use your actions. There's a lot to like about the system. There's a lot to appreciate about the system. But I still just don't feel I have that sense of agency that I have in other stronger card games. To me, Mindbug is a head-to-head card game that I play when I want to have a good time. I want to have a quick, just a fun little, let's draw some cards, do some things, not overly think it through. We're just here to play this deck of cards for 15 minutes and have a good time. And yes, there's also enough agency to make me feel in control, to make me feel rewarded for clever play. But it does tap out as far as where it fits in terms of what experience I'm looking for. It's more about the good time than the heavily strategic back and forth. So for me, this is a 3.5 out of 5. I like it. There's a lot to enjoy about it. At the same time, it kind of falls more into the have a good time kind of head-to-head game as opposed to being tightly in control head-to-head experience. As far as other game recommendations, first of all, Rift Force. If you're looking for another game of kind of picking various factions and going head-to-head with a lot of agency and control, very clever play, Rift Force from Capstone Games is going to be a very enjoyable head-to-head experience. And if you're looking for one of my go-to games as far as head-to-head deck experiences where you are pulling from a shared deck, but it's so much of to me, there's so much more sense of control and agency and less chaos and randomness. I highly recommend Radlands from Roxley Games. It'll really scratch that itch for you. In any case, until next time, I'm Alex Radcliffe from Board Game Co. I hope you found this video helpful, and as always, I hope you have a good one.